Vidkun Quisling, the man whose name became synonymous with treason. What if your very name became the definition of betrayal? What if one man's ambition was so poisonous that even today, to be called by his name is to be branded a traitor? This is the story of Vidkun Quisling, a man who dreamed of greatness, but instead became history's most infamous collaborator. Stay with us as we unravel his rise, his betrayal, his fall, and the lasting shadow of his name. Vidkun Quisling was born in 1887, the son of a Lutheran pastor in Telemark, Norway. From an early age, he was intelligent, disciplined, and reserved. Teachers praised his sharp mind, though classmates found him distant. He chose the path of a soldier, joining Norway's army as an officer. His future looked promising. In the 1920s, Quisling traveled abroad on humanitarian missions. He worked in the Soviet Union during a famine, coordinating relief efforts for starving families. He saw suffering, chaos, and collapse, and had left a deep impression. He believed strong leadership, not weak democracy, was the answer. But beneath his humanitarian image, ambition burned. He believed he was destined for greatness, that Norway needed him as its savior. Friends described him as brilliant but aloof. He had little warmth, few close relationships, and seemed more comfortable with books and theories than with people. Still, his career advanced. He became Norway's Minister of Defense in the 1930s, giving him national recognition. But his politics drifted toward authoritarianism. He admired fascist leaders rising in Europe. In 1933, inspired by Hitler and Mussolini, he founded his own political party, the National Samling, the National Unity Party. Few supported it. At rallies, his speeches echoed Hitler's, but Norwegians found them cold, lacking charisma. Yet Quisling convinced himself he was Norway's chosen leader, a man above politics, a man destined for power. April 9, 1940, the sound of German warships thundered across Norwegian waters. Operation Weserübung was underway, Nazi Germany's invasion of Norway. German troops poured into Oslo, Trondheim, Bergen, and Narvik. Fighter planes roared overhead. Norway's government scrambled. King Haakon VII refused to surrender. Ordinary soldiers resisted bravely in the mountains and towns, but in Oslo, one man saw opportunity. Vidkun Quisling marched into a radio station, accompanied by supporters. That evening, Norwegians tuned their radios and heard his voice. Calm, steady, authoritative. He declared himself prime minister. He told the nation that the government had failed, that only he could restore order, that his party, National Samling, was now in power. It was a lie. The government still existed. The king still resisted, but the damage was done. For listeners, it was like a knife to the heart. Their own countrymen had welcomed the invaders. Soldiers at checkpoints saw posters of Quisling's face beside Nazi flags. Resistance fighters tore them down in rage. King Haakon himself was devastated. He told his ministers he would rather abdicate than accept Quisling as prime minister. In that moment, Quisling had not only betrayed his king, he had betrayed his entire country. The Germans quickly realized Quisling was useful. He was weak, ambitious, and desperate for legitimacy. Hitler himself referred to him as my man in Norway. Quisling strutted in uniform, shaking hands with German officers, presenting himself as Norway's leader. But to Norwegians, he was no leader. He was a puppet. His government issued decrees, but the real power lay with the German Reichskommissar, Joseph Turbelvin. Quisling became a symbol of collaboration, enforcing Nazi orders while pretending to serve Norway. He helped the Gestapo identify and crush resistance groups. He authorized mass arrests, censorship, and propaganda campaigns. And worst of all, he supported the persecution of Norway's Jews. In 1942, his regime ordered the registration of all Jews in Norway. Later that year, Norwegian police, under his authority, raided Jewish homes. Families were dragged from their beds in the night. Mothers clutched children. Fathers begged in vain. They were herded onto trucks, then trains, bound for Auschwitz. Behind palace walls, he was awkward, stiff, and often mocked by German officers. He preferred writing philosophical essays and designing utopian plans for a new Norway. He even dreamed of rebuilding Oslo into a grand city filled with monuments to his rule. In private, he was courteous, even gentle. He married Maria, a Russian woman he had met years earlier during his humanitarian missions. But these glimpses of humanity could not wash away the blood on his hands. On the streets of Oslo, Quisling was spat like an insult. Resistance members risked their lives to assassinate him, but failed. By 1944, Hitler's empire was collapsing. Allied forces advanced across Europe. In Norway, the resistance grew bolder. Sabotage operations crippled Nazi supply lines. Quisling's speeches grew desperate, filled with hollow promises of a new order. In May 1945, Germany surrendered. Norway was free again. Quisling was arrested and taken to a Kurdish fortress. His trial was swift. The charges: treason, murder, collaboration, war crimes. Quisling defended himself, claiming he only wanted to protect Norway. On October 24, 1945, Vidkun Quisling was executed by firing squad. The man who betrayed his king and country was no more. Norway rejoiced, but the scars of betrayal remained. Families never forgot the night the police under Quisling's command knocked on their doors. The Jewish community, once thriving, had been devastated. Resistance fighters who lost friends cursed his name for decades. King Haakon returned, a symbol of unity, while Quisling's name became a symbol of treason. Dictionaries around the world adopted it. To call someone a Quisling was to call them the worst kind of traitor. Few traitors in history have achieved such infamy. Quisling wanted monuments. Instead, he got a curse. His name is remembered not for greatness, but for betrayal. Vidkun Quisling's life is a lesson in ambition gone wrong. A man who once helped famine victims ended as the world's most infamous traitor. His story reminds us that betrayal can come not just from enemies, but from those who claim to be patriots. And so we ask, what could be more tragic than dreaming of greatness, only to be remembered forever as a traitor? This was the Judas Files. Subscribe for more untold stories of betrayal that changed history.